Alright, so we're going to now take our Photoshop document, and Photoshop document, some other pieces, and start building our actual sequence. So you may not get into this till like the last week of May or possibly the day of the final, but let's talk about how to build this up. So we always start with new project, and building a new project always wants us to know where are we saving this. I'm going to browse to the folder where this is going to live, and I made a folder called BB Intro, and this is mine. Should be in your thaw space folder, whatever. You should give it a name. I'm going to call this intro, and I can make as many versions as I want within this project, and different ways of ordering things out. So we're going to build from here, and now it's got an empty project. There's no content, there's no sequences, there's no nothing. So I do have some content I'm trying to drag in here. Let's see if I remember where I put any of it. So I know that I have some footage I stashed somewhere, but I'm going to go ahead and find right now the, let's see, in the BB folder. Here it is, BB Intro. So I have a Photoshop document. I'm going to drag this in. Now when I drag this in, it's going to want to know, it's like, Mr. Campbell, how do you want to handle this? And it's asking me these questions. Do you want to merge all the layers into one, which I don't, because I want them all to move separately. Do you want to merge some layers together, which I don't do that either. I want to do individual layers. I don't want to get all of them. So if something's unchecked because it's hidden in Photoshop, I need to kind of build these up. Now, it's better if I name these layers, which I did not. So going back to Photoshop, it might be a smart idea to like name these. You're going to have to name them eventually anyways. You can call this stripes or whatever. You can actually merge these three background layers together if you wanted to. There's a few ways to work this out. So I'm going to go ahead and bring the whole thing. Let me try this. I'm going to actually do merge layers, and I'm only bringing the ones I want. So these three background layers are my background design, and those have to be 1920 by 1080p, which is the size of my desired sequence. So if I did that right, I can drag this in here and I'll have a new sequence. Now here's my new sequence right there. This is the sequence icon. So if I open this up like this, I can eventually see the size of this. There it is, 1920 by 1080. Hopefully this is the right frame rate. I think it's going to be, yep, 29.97. That's usually default. So let's go ahead and bring this back. And now I'm going to bring in the thing again, because the other parts I want in separate layers. So there's a few ways to approach this issue, but sort of thinking through efficiency, is there any layers you actually want separated or not? Now I could have done this and put some glowing effects or something like that. I'm going to go ahead and go with individual layers, and I'm not going to select. I'm going to bring in the individual layers, and I'm not going to choose these three bottom ones because I already have those merged. And so now I've got this, and these are different parts of the image that I can drag in separately. So I'm actually going to bring those in at different times. And this piece here, I'm going to make it last for, let's say, 20 frames or 20 seconds. So speed duration, that's a right click, by the way, right click, speed and duration. And make this 20 seconds. So it's 20 plus 2 zeros for frames. If I tab out of that, it says, 20 seconds, no frames. So now I've got this thing ready to go for 20 seconds. And next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try to find my video stuff to bring in and start ordering everything in together into my final piece. So good news, I found my footage, and it's in this folder here. So I moved it to where it should be instead of letting it sit somewhere else that didn't make sense. And I'm going to go and drag that folder in. And eventually I'm going to be putting a grid together of those shots. So it's importing them. Anything that doesn't work, like if I have the wrong file format, it'll not accept it. So I had some stuff I was bringing in yesterday for a project, and there's a bunch of pictures missing, and it's because they were the wrong file format. They were something off an iPhone, and so it didn't really work that great. So what I'll do next is I'm going to start building in my content so that my opening shot based on my storyboard is one of these shots. Let me see if I can find this. If I go and change my view to thumbnails, I'm going to see this, and there's the folder I want, so this should show them. And there's a shot somewhere here of the students doing the bullets, and I think this is the one I want right here. So drag and drop that in there. So that's actually much longer than I need. So if I right-click and choose scale the frame size, that's kind of important that it fits in there. It may not change anything, but it just might. So I'm going to drag this down, and I'm just going to find the piece that I want only here, and I'm going to trim this back to just that part that I want. And I want it to be kind of quick, so I'm going to zoom in on this and see how much long time that takes. So about 2 seconds, maybe a second and a half. I can always change that distance later. And so building back into my storyboard, I'm going to grab one more shot of the, let's see, I've gotten one of the hands on the device somewhere in here. And I'm scanning through it. I've got the thing already somewhere. I think it's this one here. So I'm going to open this up and try to get the stuff I want. That's hands on the audio. So I'm going to grab that one and drop that in. You know what? I can actually use these later. So I'm going to put a grid together later of some of these shots. So I'm going to just use that one. The one I actually want right here is hands on the TriCaster. So I could just use this one actually. So I'm going to go with this teleprompter shot and drag through this. And it looks like I got about 45 frames. Let's build this up to about 1.5 seconds. So now I've got this and I'm sequencing things together. And you may recall that beneath this I'm going to have these images. So I might take these two. And if I go to Effect Controls, do one at a time, I can take this one and reduce its scale. So I want to frame it in the middle so I can see my graphic design behind it. That looks kind of nice. And you can copy that, exactly, copy and then paste attributes like this. So now it matches the motion and they'll be exactly the same size. That looks kind of cool. You could even put a drop shadow on that part. So if I go to the effects panel here and I search drop, here's my drop shadow, and now I'm going to try to get that drop shadow looking good. So I'm going to choose drop shadow is here, opacity is up. So I'm just trying to build a sort of a faux border around it. So let me grab the distance, and as you can see, as I drag the distance up, it's putting more of a border on the outside here. So it's kind of like this, and hide it. Where's the drop shadow? Here we go. Turn it off, turn it on. I like that. So now I can take that effect, and again, I can copy it from here, and I can paste it to here by using paste attributes. And I only want the effect, so I'm not going to worry about the motion because I already got that. Hit enter, and now that one's also got the same effect to it. The next part of my storyboard calls for the first text piece. So I got to go back here, go to my project panel, and I'm looking for the text pieces. So I'm going to go back to here, and let's see, those are the intro clips. This is the, okay, here we go. So I'm going to drop this into place. Now the default duration of that is pretty epic. I don't really want it that long. So I'm going to take it like this and reduce it to here. So now we've got Studio 205, and it's important to note that that's just the text part. So I want to make sure that sticks around long enough to be visible. So I want to get this piece actually moving. So I'm going to start this here, and I'm going to set the duration of this. Let's go with something like 2 seconds. I can adjust that later if I want to. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the beginning of the clip. I'm going to go to my Effect Controls panel, drag all the way back. I'm going to set the scale to something that's smaller. And now I'm going to go to the end of the clip and bring it up, something like this. Now I have to be careful. Oops, you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to add a keyframe at the beginning here. So let's go back to the beginning. And I made it small, and I got to add a scale keyframe. And now I'm going to take and go to the end of it. And when I change the value, I feel like it's disappearing somewhere. I don't know what I did wrong here. So there's working. Okay, so when we go to the end, it disappears because the clip ends. So it's going to come up, and that's good. The next thing I'm going to bring in, I think my storyboard calls for another shot from the studio. So I go here, and I can actually double-click on these. And if I double-click on them, it shows them up here in the this panel, and it's not connected. This is on my external hard drive. So there we go. So I'm going to just use this one and drag a couple seconds out of this. I like that this is motiony and movement. I'm going to put on that layer down there. So I've got a couple seconds of this. And now I'm going to go with more text. So SPHS Multimedia Presents. Drag and drop. And I want this to be about, I want to make this about 2 seconds as well. So speed and duration. Change this to about 2 seconds. And now I can, so I've set the timing of this, and now I'm going to work with the movement. So I can actually right-click this again and choose copy. Go here and paste attributes. And I want the motion on this. So hit enter. And now that one does the exact same thing. Okay. So my storyboard next calls for let's see, a grid of a bunch of shots. Now this is where it gets kind of fancy-ish, and I'm going to need more layers, more tracks for this. So if I notice, I've got 3 tracks. One is taken up the whole time by this background. So to add more tracks, I'm going to go to the sequence menu. So let's go again. Oops, got lost there. Sequence menu, and in the sequence, here's add tracks at the almost bottom. If you don't see it, use that down arrow, and you'll find the add tracks. I'm going to add, I don't know, let's try no audio tracks. That's video tracks. Let's add 2 more video tracks and 0 audio. So okay, and now I'm gonna have more room for the stacking up these pieces. So now I'm gonna pick the pieces I want to use, and I'm gonna try to vary them from what I had before. All right, here's one maybe. Let's try that. Sure. Oh, I already used that one, I think. So I want to find one I haven't used yet. So I'm going to take a couple seconds of this. Here I can drag this, actually drag that bracket until it reads the number I want, which is going to be 2 seconds even. So I'm going to drop that in there as well. And now I'm going to start stacking them up. Okay. Now the issue is that it's too big. So I want to build a grid out of these, so I'm going to have to reduce their size, which is going to require a little bit of math. So let me find some more pictures. Oh, I like this one a lot. Let's go here. Drag it over there on the road. All right, so I've been trying to get 2 seconds out of this. That's 10, 9, 8, 5, 4, 3, 2. So I'm counting the numbers as it rolls through there. That's pretty close. And I'm going to probably change the duration down here. So as I grab that into place, I can just trim it back to match that by snapping it together. Let's find 2 more. Sure, this one's exciting. And I'm just going to, I'm going to drag this until I get my 2 seconds out of it. So I'm reading over here for that 2 seconds. This over here is the total duration. This is the duration of the clip I'm building. So as I build that in, there's my 2 seconds, drag and drop. And again, you can't see through each, but I'm going to treat them all with the same process. And somewhere in here I've got somebody working there. I like this one. So here's this. And again, I'm going to look at this number here to get the number I want. And you can also trim it back in the timeline. So if I say I make it too long and we drag it in there, we just trim it back like this. So having done that, I'm going to take all these pieces. I'm going to right click and choose, and do this all at once. You can't always apply all of the same things at the same time, but I can scale the frame size to all of them at once. So to make these all fit, I got to do a bit of math. And the thing I'm thinking of is that my screen is 1920, and I want to put 2 of these across, but I want them to be a little bit smaller. So I'm going to do a little quick guesswork on one of them. Let me hide all these and use just this one. So going to my effect controls, let's reduce the scale to, let's go with like 33%, or let's try 33%. So if I do that, and then the next math I have to do is figure out how does it fit on my screen. You can kind of like move it over, move it up, but there should be some actual math involved in this. All right, so going to each piece, I kind of need to copy and paste it, but then I'll have to change the position. So the reason I'm doing it this way is if I copy and paste, I'm going to take these 3 pieces, paste attributes, and I'm only going to do motion here. And now I still have to move each one to be in the right place because I just changed only the size. So I'll take the next one here, and we'll move it over. Oh, it's hidden. There we go. So move it over. And I'll take the next one here, unhide it, and I'll move it down. Oops, that's over. This number here is down. And then do the next one up. Let's see if I can make this more track visible. Okay, so take this one and I'm going to move it over and down. So I could take the values of some of these. Let's take this one here, I think, and I'm going to get 642. Now the next one over is going to be 1322. So this one up here, I'm going to set to 1322. And then the vertical value, I'm going to set to 345, 730. So I'm just clicking through to get the values so I don't have to guess too much. Now I kind of want to put a drop shadow on all these pieces. So I have to do it one at a time, then copy and paste it. So I'm dragging in the drop shadow from the Effects panel. There's my drop shadow. Drop it into place. Let's adjust that value so it looks the way you want. Here's the shadow. Opacity's all the way up. Direction, distance. So there's this. And I like that. So I'm going to copy and paste that. So it's right click, copy, select all these pieces and paste, and only paste attributes and only do the effects. So not the motion, because we already did that part. So now we've got all these 3 pieces built up. Now according to my storyboard, how far in this am I? 10:21. So the next shot in my storyboard is going to be my final title, which is the part that says, let's go back to my bin, project intro. So somewhere in here I've got that stuff. There it is, the Baylor Bulletin. So now I'm going to have this one showing up, and there it is. So I want this to get the same motion that this piece here got, so I can copy again, go here, and paste attributes. So now I got this, and I only want the motion. So I got that, and now this is going to be zooming up like this, and now I kind of want to hold that last frame because I'm actually under time. I've got 4 seconds left. So there's some things I might increase in distance or time. Let's take this one for example. I'm going to take all these pieces except for the bottom, move them over a little bit, make this one a little bit longer, make this one a little bit longer. Trying to change up the pace of things is a good idea. So if they're all the same duration, we have too much predictability. So I want to sort of change the duration of the times, and I can add more clips if I want to. So I can even like shorten some of these up and find more clips. It's even though you have a storyboard, the storyboard's a general plan, and we can kind of take these different pieces and kind of work our way through really making something match. Because when you're doing the storyboard, sometimes the timing is not always done with a whole lot of exactitude. So let's go back to this one, or maybe this one. Let's take this one, sure. So I'm going to take this. I'm just going to randomly trim it and drop it in here and then stretch it to fit the position. So now going to the end, if I open up my zoom a little bit, I should be somewhere in the neighborhood of the right number. Let's see, there's 20 seconds is right there. So I could just make this match, or what I really want to do is actually hold that position there. So if I go and get that piece again, the Baylor Bulletin, I've already got it in there, right? But I want to match the size at the end of this clip here. So going back to Effect Controls, going to the end, that's like 107. So if I go to this button here, yeah, 107. So I take this, and this will be static. It's not going to move. So I'm going to set this value to 107. So now I've got 20 seconds to the end. And as you may recall, I did also ask for about 10 seconds extra at the end. So I'm going to take this and carry it to 30 seconds. Here's 30. And drag this out to there, and drag this all the way out to there. So now I've got the extra 10 seconds, and the only thing I have to add in now is a slate. So I'm going to drag this over, and I'm going to build the slate in place. So the slate is made with the text tool. So if I go back here and I got nothing, I should have nothing there. I'm going to click and add some text in there, and I'm going to go bulletin intro, and I'm going to use a different font. So going to my edit, I want to set this up to use Arial. Okay, Arial is a much more standard font to use here. Actually just type it in there. So Arial, bold, sure, that'll work. And I can position that differently if I want to. I can actually just grab this and move it over. And I'm going to use that as the basis for everything else, but I'm going to right justify it. Move it over again. So date is May 19th. Oops. May 19th / 22. Oops. Something happened there. It was kind of weird. So I'm back into here. Enter. There we go. Our Campbell duration is 30 seconds. So you put that in there. So now, having done that, I'm pretty much done. And now if I got snapping turned on, when I zoom back in and drag this over, I've selected all those pieces. And now it snaps into place. And all I got to do now is export. Okay, so that's pretty much wrapped up. Doesn't even need music because the producers of the show will choose music as they go through. Oh, look at this. There is sound in there though. So a good idea is to take all these pieces because you don't need that sound. Right click, unlink, and select those separately and delete them. So now you've got a delightful intro for the Baylor Bulletin based on some video and some graphics. Something's doubled up in there. What is it? Something's doubled. Let's see. We'll have to work on that separately. So that's basically the idea, and have a good time with this.